I thought, come on, ladies, come on, ladies.
The 9 Years Podcast.
All right, welcome to episode 54 of the 9 Years Podcast. We are available on iTunes, YouTube and 9yrspodcast.org, and we do appreciate your 5-star ratings and reviews on iTunes, as well as welcoming your comments on our website too. So if you do have any thoughts or suggestions or queries or questions or anything like that, feel free to leave them there or on our Facebook page or on Twitter. Search for 9YRS Podcast on all of those sites. My name is Nick Draper. I am joined, as always, by Stuart Deakins. How are you this week, Stu?
Fabulous.
What isn't fabulous is Stu and I's worst ever Football League 11s, which is what we're going to be choosing this week, just for a bit of mean-spirited fun. All the usual features coming up as well, including a review of the Rochdale game, a look at the EFL Trophy situation following our fixture with Swansea's kids on Tuesday night, look ahead to Chesterfield on Saturday and Poleon Go as well. It is the September 1st edition of the podcast, and I only note that because it means we have reached September and have yet to win a game of football, notwithstanding Tuesday night's game, which we're not going to count for now. Last time I can remember that happening was in 1996, but back then we'd only played 3 games come September. This time round we've played 6 already, so the season's just getting earlier and earlier now.
Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it? It's amazing when you put our stat to me, actually, that we played that many games. But yeah, we do seem to obviously cram a lot of games in early on. Obviously now, thankfully we don't do very well in the League Cup. If we did well in the League Cup, it'd be even worse, wouldn't it?
Worse, of course, if you're a non-league when they have Bank Holiday Monday games, which we don't have anymore. A bit disappointed with this.
Yeah, non-league had them, didn't they? Like, obviously Sutton were playing Dagenham and Redbridge. Dagenham and Richmond, I apologise. And they were doing a special offer, weren't they, where if you were a Premiership fan, a season ticket holder, or a Football League season ticket holder, you can get in for, I think, £10 of a terracing. So Sutton do some good deals. And I didn't see the attendance, but I'm sure they would have put a few people on it.
Yeah, fair play Sutton. That sounds like a grand idea. Before we move on then, Stu, let's get these out of the way. Hashtag Fav7 lists. Fave7 lists. Fave, who knows? Have you got one for us this week?
You'll be amazed. I actually have.
Woohoo.
I have done, because I forgot it last week. I apologise. So do you want me to go first with my list?
Yeah.
So I've done mine in no particular order, really, but I've done my favourite Knicks.
Good choice. I look forward to this.
I've not included you on there because obviously that would be no point, because that'd be boring. Yeah. So my favourite Knicks are, in no particular order, Nasty Nick.
It doesn't count anymore because I'm
Are you going to sulk?
No.
You're the honorary Nick, so you are not on the top 7. So Nasty Nick, Nick Cage, actor, Nick Ferrari, Nick Grimshaw.
I'm not listening anymore.
Nick Faldo.
No. Golf, no.
Yeah, Nick Hewer of The Apprentice. I've met him.
Okay.
I've met him on a train. I've actually met him on a train and a plane, believe it or not. Never spoke to him, but I've met him. If that
Good,
makes
solid
sense.
choice, that. There you go.
And finally, Nick Cotton of EastEnders.
Okay, good. Great. Good 7 list. If you want
you.
to have your go at that, have hashtag Fav7Nicks at 9YRS Podcast. This week, Stu, I have gone for my Fav7 20th Century Chancellors of the Exchequer.
Wow.
Run through these very quickly for you. Obviously, the legendary Winston Churchill and Neville Chamberlain have to feature, as does Harold Macmillan. Norman Lamont, good name for a politician, that, solid. Dennis Healey, who invented those shoes with the wheels on. Sir Stafford Cripps. And finally, Andrew Bonar Law. Bonar Law.
What a surname that is, eh?
Hi, I'm John Green, co-founder of Nerdfighteria, and like most of the United Kingdom, I can't say I hate Watford. That's him.
Right, we should say that we are recording this on Wednesday, which you cannot fail to have noticed is the most hyped, most gluttonous day of the football calendar. That is transfer deadline day. So whilst we're recording, we're going to keep an eye on the latest non-events and non-stories. Right now, Stu, on Sky Sports News, Natalie Sawyer's presenting, so I have not really much clue what else is going on. However, I can tell you. Go on.
I must admit, I didn't turn the TV on because I knew if I did turn the TV on, we wouldn't be recording this tonight. Because obviously, are they wearing their yellow? Is he wearing his what's his name? Jim White, is that right?
Jim White, yes.
Jim White, is he wearing his yellow tie and she's wearing
they
yellow
seem to
dress?
have ditched the yellow colour scheme at the present time.
That used to be their thing, all yellow and stuff like that. But yeah, to be fair, Jim White thinks everyone watches it for him. It's rubbish. We watch it for the ladies. That's why Sky Sports News was invented. But yeah, it's transfer deadline. I'm just looking through here now. The latest news is, and of course, as people will know, this could obviously change by the time you listen to this on a Thursday or Friday or Saturday or whenever you choose to listen to it. But latest stuff at the moment is Jack Wilshere has turned down nearly every club on the planet and he's going to Bournemouth. That's a good choice. A season, how Arsenal letting Jack Wilshere out on a season-long loan? That's ridiculous. I thought it was only a short-term period, but that's crazy.
Well, funnily enough, Stu, later on, obviously, we're going to be talking about the EFL Trophy and the so-called benefits it's bringing to the development of young talent. Jack Wilshere, alongside Joe Hart, does it not speak volumes that clubs are spending over £1 billion in bringing in foreign players as opposed to trusting their own young players? But then two top English players, Wilshere and Joe Hart, they could possibly move abroad. Joe Hart definitely. Jack Wilshere looks like he will be. But the only time these young English players look to try and challenge themselves or experience football in a different culture is when their clubs tell them that they're no longer wanted.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? You know, a few players. Well, years ago, a few players went to Italy. Obviously, Paul Gascoigne and Des Walker and
David Platt,
and all that went out, didn't they? The only one from the rings at the moment I can think about went abroad. Obviously, Gareth Bale went obviously to Spain, and Ashley Cole went out to Roma, I believe. But that wasn't to experience new cultures. That was because he'd obviously annoyed every other club going and no one else wanted him. Joe Hart going out to Italy, that suggests to me, it strikes to me as much of he didn't want to play with anyone else in the Premiership and just wanted to get out of the country and maybe regroup. That's probably a good move for him. Jack Wilshere one, I'm amazed. Like I say, I thought Thursday I saw it was a short-term loan, and it makes me laugh that he's turned down Crystal Palace and gone to Bournemouth. That says a lot for my Palace friends who, if he's chose to go elsewhere. But it's a good move.
Mentioning English players that had gone abroad, just wondering if any of our listeners might be able to help us out. Tweet us at 9YRS Podcast if you can add to our list. I'm just thinking, you mentioned quite a lot there, Stu. I'm thinking, obviously, we had David Beckham, Michael Owen, Jonathan Woodgate all went over to Real Madrid, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Last decade, say, in that sort of region. Steve McManaman did so before that.
There's been a few. A lot have gone to Spain, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? Italy, to be fair, Italy's not been known as a top league for many, many years. They are trying to... I'm just looking at Wilshere turned down AC Milan, and you think about 10, 15 years ago, they were kings of Europe, weren't they? Do you know what I mean? The Italian clubs have really suffered financially. But yeah, just the foreign players coming in, I just don't understand it. I don't know about you, but a lot of these foreign players I've not heard of. And the money that's going out of the game, that's what makes you laugh. It's going out of the game into foreign countries, and an awful lot going into agents' pockets as well, which is criminal. But
yeah, I couldn't agree more. That's the biggest problem for me, the biggest issue. Agents just taking money out of the game. But anyway, I'm sure we'll come back to the situation with young English players and such when we talk about the EFL Trophy. Let's get on to the Rochdale game then from last Saturday. We were about 30 seconds away from our first win of the season at Spotland, or, as it is apparently now called, the Crown Oil Arena.
Really?
When sponsorship deals go too far.
Wow.
Maybe Ryan Clark's hands were covered in oil, however, as the ball slipped off his gloves and ended up in the back of our net as Rochdale, reduced to 10 men, picked up a point deep into injury time. Rochdale had Callum Camps, which is a fantastic name, not just in life, not just for football. He was sent off with around 10 minutes of the game to go. By that time, we'd already used our 3 subs, though, Stuart. We would switch to a 5-man midfield. Do you think we invited pressure by that switch, and we should have perhaps looked to kill off the game, get a second goal, as opposed to setting up shop and maybe trying to catch something on the break instead?
Yeah, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? And he had set his stall out. He'd gone with Barnett up front on his own. frustrating in a way. I can see why the certain subs you made. Parrott brings the legs in. It goes to more of a narrow midfield. People sort of said, we'd gone for a 5-man midfield. Going with Barnett up front, you sort of like looking, was that the right sub in hindsight? Poleon would have probably been a better player in terms of getting balls down the channel and stuff. It looked like the ball kept coming back, but we still should be surely we should be able to adapt and make sure we have a get out ball and stuff like that. But as we know, the goal was the goal inevitable. We sort of like saw 6 minutes injury time. When you're bottom of the league, you're sort of going, we're holding on. This feels like another 10, 15 minutes, and then we succumb to another set piece, unfortunately.
Where does the blame lie? Does it lie with the goalkeeper?
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? You don't want to. Last thing I want to do is be known just for being a person that just doesn't like Clark, because that's further from the truth. I'm winning him to get better all the time.
I'm pretty sure you hate him. You told me that many times.
I could never hate a Wimbledon player. A person who puts a Wimbledon shirt on, I never will. I'm a bit frustrated with the signing. That's not his fault. We didn't sign him. I don't know. When I've seen the goal, I'm a bit concerned why we're all of a sudden on top of his space. Really, why has he got so many people around him? That's either something that was just they seen during the game, or was it they scouted and saw that he doesn't really come out and command crosses, does he? And the ball in the end's whipped into a near post, but I don't think it's the most. I don't think it's a goal that if I saw that from any other team, the first thing I would have said was that's a terrible goal to concede. What's the keeper doing? So regardless of who's in goal for us and what's happened before, that's got to be my initial fault. And it's frustrating. You see some of the reactions around. I can't remember who now falls to the floor that have just been shot, but some do that. Some just Jake Reeves looks like he's in a world of his own, as if like I've been running around all game and we've done that last minute. So they've worked hard, but ultimately individual mistakes will cost us. And the goalkeeper, when they make a mistake, it's normally a goal, isn't it?
Goalkeeper who, over the course of the Scunthorpe and Northampton games and for large parts of the Rochdale game, looked to be improving and, shall we say, rediscovering his form, perhaps. So it is a shame that that's happened at the end there.
I think so. And that's why I think you've always got to look at positive. You harp on the negatives and there's just no point. But his kicking's getting better. He seems a bit more vocal. Obviously, we had the game last night against the Swansea Academy team, which we'll go on in a little while. But he had a solid game there as well and got a clean sheet. So hopefully now these little small steps. It's quite obvious by the selection at the Swansea Academy game that Niwali sees him as his number one. So it's a very strong message, and hopefully now Clark will recover from a shaky start and produce the goods for us.
A few other talking points from Saturday. Dean Parrott didn't start once again. Have you been surprised at how he's not really been given a chance from the get-go?
Amazed. He's probably. I wonder whether we look at it. Niwali is quite honest and says it's not the 11 at start. It's just everyone's plays the part. So those on the bench will have a role. We do it with the subs. We say that the forwards there's no set two. He's gone on record after the Swansea Academy game and gone. Actually, do you know what? Lyle Taylor and Tom Elliott are my two at the moment, but that's mainly because they know how we play. And I think that's the important thing we have to remember is we have a certain way of playing tactically with the ball, off the ball. Niwali talks about his transitions between the midfield and the attack. So it's probably just a case that it's not for the fact that Parrott hasn't got the ability. It's probably that at the moment we're sticking with Reeves and Bullman for what we know. But he's knocking on the door heavily, and that door is going to fall down soon if he keeps knocking it any harder. Is
Tyrone Barnett knocking on the door for a starting place in the same manner?
Not yet. I don't think so. He reminds me of a Lyle Taylor when he turned up. Lyle wasn't fit. Wasn't fit in terms of we want our forwards fit, running, defending from the back. I don't think that's his strongest point. There's no denying the lad's got ability. He's a big frame. I really feel sometimes I wish he was a bit more. I get frustrated. I think he's a little bit nice. I want him to be going through people and really being that Lyle Taylor bit between his teeth that he isn't going to let anyone mug him off, as they say. I don't think he's yet got into that style. He needs to be better off the ball. Poleon is a lot better off the ball, chases Harry's, and Barnett isn't doing that yet. So I think Barnett is probably, I still think about a month off. I really do, and it's a shame we can't. It's ironic that I'm ashamed the window is still not open because I think he could probably do with maybe just a loan move. I know that's probably a bit controversial in a way, but he needs games. I don't think we are going to give him the games. He needs games desperately.
Especially as someone you mentioned there, Lyle Taylor. Good news came through the other day that he has signed a new contract with us. As you know, Stu, we are a fans club owned and run under the auspices of the Dons Trust, therefore owned and run by the fans. But details as to the type of contract that Lyle has signed, or any transfer fees or anything like this, why should we know these things?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? Should we know it? Does it then make it... let's be fair, if we were someone like Barcelona and everyone knows what Messi's buyout clause is, and it goes up about a couple $100 million every time he signs a contract. But should we really be letting sensitive information out like that? I suppose it'd be nice if we knew, is it a 2-year with the year option? It's obviously a pay rise because no one signs a new contract for less or the same money. But I think it's the right thing to do. It's interesting. I hate to sound right all the time, but Neil Ardie said exactly in the interview what I've said a little while going back, is that if we didn't get him on a new contract, we're probably best getting rid of him and getting the money. Because Neil Ardie made a comment after the deal been signed on Tuesday that if we'd got to January, we then would have had a player that would have been probably going out at the end of the summer and then getting real rubbish offers. And that's the game nowadays. So we really need him on a longer contract, really to protect ourselves. That if he does do well, we hope he will, then the transfer offer, because we are a selling club, let's be honest about that, we protect ourselves with a bit of a healthy transfer fee if he produces the goods, which I'm sure he will.
Contract situation, I'll just say, I just find it bizarre that we know about many different contracts and salaries across the football pyramid, yet we are super secretive about these things. If Lyle Taylor's going to be moved on or looking for a move elsewhere, he and his agent are going to be revealing the necessary information, the details to any interested club anyway, aren't they? So I think I need to speak to Eric or someone just to understand quite why we are so sensitive and secretive about all our transfer dealings.
Would you like to know then who's a top earner and how much our kids earn? Is that an information you want to know?
I'm not particularly fussed. It doesn't bother me particularly. I think to do a big announcement that Lyle Taylor signs a new contract and then not announce the length of that contract is a little strange.
Yeah, a lot different than what a lot of other clubs are. Yeah, I searched. I don't. You probably like me. I was searching in the small print. Was it a 2-year deal? Was it extending to 2018? But yeah, we didn't do it. And Neil Ardie didn't mention it in his interview at all. Not that it was asked either, as well, because we must have we have the nicest journalist who never asks those questions. Come on, Slavo.
We're going to have to, next time we go on a coach journey, Stu and Slavo's on the coach, we'll just have to tie him down and not let him off the coach until he tells us certain things. Seen out of Reservoir Dogs. Hashtag Don's 3-word reports then from Rochdale. Our favourite 3 from this week are Adam Johnson, hopefully not that Adam Johnson, at Right Adam Right, as in to write a letter, not to turn right. That's how you spell it, just in case. He went for last sodding minute, like that, because it pretty much summed up everyone's feelings when the message came through on Saturday afternoon when the equaliser. Well, yeah. Joe Blair, at Joe Z Blair, and we will find out what the Z stands for, won't we, Stu? I'm assuming it's his middle initial.
It's a weird initial, isn't it? I think it's just Joe want to be special. And he is.
Fair enough. He went for, in big capital letters, wanted new goalkeeper. And again, we like that because it pretty much summed up the mood amongst many of our fans on hearing the news about the equalising goal on Saturday. And finally, Stu, who do you think we've got one from this week to read out?
Oh, I reckon it's that person from Kent again, isn't it?
It is indeed. Ray Armfield at Kent Womble, Dale Win Gone. A clever pun on the television presenter, which also helped me out immensely for later in the show this week. So thank you very much, Ray, for those. Remember, look out for our hashtag Don's 3-word reports again on Saturday after the game with Chesterfield. Loan Watch, Stu, and I have a confession. Dan Gallagher, who was on loan at Kingstonian, well, I found myself at Kingsmeadow on Monday this week.
Did you really?
I did, and I observed his performance against the Metropolitan Police.
I'll let you go do a loan watch then for this week.
Do I have to? I don't like to be mean about our players.
Well, whilst he's at K's, he's not technically our player, so you could be horrible to him.
Okay, I don't think he's going to be one of our players for much longer then, based on that performance.
Really? It's interesting because I like I like Dan, but he needs to get out and get games. And I thought that would be not his level, but I thought he would get the tackles in and stuff like that. How do you not play that way? Was he playing central midfield? Was he?
Yeah, holding sort of more of a holding midfield role, so he would be the tackler in that centre midfield partnership. He got taken off after about an hour. Didn't do anything. Bit of a worry.
Interesting, isn't it? So that'd be interesting to see whether he comes back or whether we maybe try and get him. It definitely. They need games. He's a second year under 20. He's not an under 21, but if you know what I mean. I think I know Nuadi, when he looks at them coming through transition stages, he's probably now not an under 21 now. He's done his own under 21 time, like people like Tom Beer, Will Nightingale, those sort of people. And now he wants to get him out and either play games in the first team, be on the bench, or get out and get games. Tom Beer, look at Tom Beer when he can't. Tom Beer now. He's ready now, really. He's ready now to be competing for that place. So the next step for Dan is that. So that's a shame, really, if he's not doing that. But, yeah, that's not good, is it? That stumps me, that one.
What news did you have of Dan aside from that? Kingstonian won 2-1 on Monday, by the way.
They did, and it was 2 late goals, wasn't it? It was 89th and 91st minute against the Met Police.
It was.
So, yeah, before that, they beat Staines. They've had a good weekend. They've won 2 games. They move off now. They're 16th now, so they've moved off. I was looking at the league table, actually. It's quite interesting. They play a VCD Athletic away in the Cup on Saturday, sorry. I was curious, where the hell is VCD Athletic? It's obviously not named after a town, is it?
I think the D stands for Dartford.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Oh, there you go.
I was really confused. I didn't know where it was. It's always one of those teams I looked and thought, where do they play? There's a few teams that we used to sort of think, don't know who they are, do you know what I mean? But, yeah, then after that, you got Leiston, who are clear at the top by 2 points. They've won their first 6 games. Yeah, there's a few teams at the top of the Roman Prem, actually, that are doing well. Them, Tunbridge Angels, and Havant Waterlooville, their form at the moment, Leiston and Havant Waterlooville have won their last 5 games. And Tunbridge have won their last 3. So interesting. Bottom of that is Met Police and Merstham, which is interesting. You didn't do the pre-season. Of course, you didn't do pre-season, did you? Our under-21s played Merstham. And
Sorry, I just realised you asked me that question about me doing pre-season. I'm sat here shaking my head, which is great for a podcast.
That's great for a podcast, isn't it?
My answer is no. There we go.
So, and to be fair, I asked the question and then answered it for you because, again, I knew you didn't do pre-season. But Merstham, I thought they were quite tough tackling. I didn't really like our under-21s because they were losing and it was quite feisty. And I thought, I wonder how they're down in the run frame. Well, yeah, they're second from bottom, so haven't won a game yet. So, but I like Merstham. I've been down there quite a lot for the under-21s. Nice club, nice people, and I hope they get out of trouble. Early days yet, just like ourselves.
And in keeping with the high quality of segues evidenced on the podcast so far this season, we're going to switch then from the under-21s at Merstham to the under-21s-ish, kind of, at Kingsmeadow on Tuesday night for our fixture with Swansea City's, basically their development academy side, however you want to look at it. There's an article on the BBC Sport website. I've put a link to it on the front page of our own website, 9yrspodcast.org. Very good article looking at Tuesday night's attendances of the new EFL Trophy. It quoted a Blackburn fan. No, it didn't. It quoted a Bolton fan who declared their game with Everton's academy as absolutely meaningless, which is pretty much where I'm at with fixtures in this competition. I'm not reading anything into them. Stu, you were in attendance on Tuesday night, although not a paying spectator, I hasten to add. But what did you make of the evening?
Yeah, it's pretty much what I expected. I've been down in a week before with the under-21s, surprisingly, in the under-21 Premier League Cup. I feel like that's run properly and for proper teams. Anyway, so I've been down there, and it was very much similar to that in terms of it's a 21 game. You can hear the players quite clearly. There's no atmosphere. It's pretty much what I thought. We ummed and ahed, didn't we, about this, how to cover it. I sort of went along the lines of going from not wanting to cover it because I was like, it's definitely a B team attempt, and that's still quite clear. to then thinking, actually, do you know what, they've mucked it up because no one's really bothered about it. It's got such bad press. Of course, the protests have helped. But fans are just not buying into it. And I think our fans did buy into it. What I would say, though, the interesting thing, like I say, just to clarify, we covered it in terms of from an angle of a sarcastic angle. So if you look at any of the shots in pictures we did very little of the Swansea Academy team. We did lots of pictures of empty stands because there was lots of empty stands. And generally a few pictures, even with the goal score, we put it with an empty stand behind and put the B team boycott in the background to make sure people were aware that actually it was happening. So that's the angle we went from. As I thought, the tempo was very slow from Swansea Academy. Simon Bassey's commented before that the games he watches regularly have no tempo, no points at stake, very low tempo. We played like a house on fire, and we played like Neil Ardie said to him, go and get a result.
Yeah, we're talking attendances really, aren't we? And as you've said there, only one stand was open. We had an attendance of 461.
Yes, we did.
I'm interested in the makeup of those in attendance. By that I mean, if you were to profile those people, because in my head, what I'm imagining is a mixture of, shall we say, more mature fans and maybe the odd family that have come along, summer holidays, bring a kid along to a game. Is that fair, or was there a bigger cross-section of people there?
It was interesting, actually. There was obviously loads of faces that I recognise. There was a few families there. There was a lot. There probably was more than the 460 because there was friends and families from players. I know quite a lot of the families now by talking to. I know Will, obviously name dropping, but I know Will's dad quite well and stuff. And the others I know by sight. Barry Fuller's wife and all that sort of thing. I mean, in terms of I know him by sight with his 3 kids.
Oh, right, you're not stalking Barry Fuller's wife. No, we just have to clear that one up. Okay.
No one would do that, but everyone would know.
Someone might, Stu. She might be offended that no one would want to stalk her. I don't know.
Barry Fuller's
I think we've gone into a weird area.
Well, yeah, but Barry Fuller's wife was there with his 3 lovely children who you can't miss, all in Wimbledon kits, and it's really nice to see when you've got your captain of your club and his 3 kids all wear Wimbledon kits. I think it's very good. It says a lot for it. But no, yeah, do you know what? I had a few people come up to me. I had one person come up to me who's, I would say, 20s, and quite blatantly said, why are we boycotting this game then? I don't understand it. So I sat there for about 5 minutes explaining it to them. And I won't lie, I had a family member of a player who was playing, I won't name a name because that's not fair, who quite blatantly said that he felt really sad that there wasn't more fans to see that said person's appearance because that said person would like to play in front of the fans, which was an interesting angle from that point of view. But there wasn't many kids. There was a few. One of the kids asked us for a team sheet because there wasn't a programme and asked how many Premiership players are playing for Swansea. That was interesting because obviously that's where the angle would come from kids, thinking the Premiership players are going to be down at Kingsmeadow. That wasn't the case. But yeah, that was it really. There was just no atmosphere. There was a lot of volunteers who stayed for about half an hour and then went back to the bar. From all accounts, there was more people in the bar than there was in some sections last night. So yeah, the competition's a joke. But do you know what? If you look at the football, if you solely look at the football, that was a big win for us last night.
See, this is where I think you and I are going to disagree, because for me, I really don't buy into anything of this fixture. It might be different when we play, Newport and Plymouth in the other group games. I just think, as you've already touched on, a lot more intensity about us than Swansea's academy players, as you would expect. I'm not sure this changes anything into regards of going ahead, moving forward, to use a phrase I don't really like to use, into our league form.
It's difficult. I tend to disagree, purely because I think winning games at any level, winning a training match or just getting that confidence of scoring goals, and, don't get me wrong, when Poleon scored his goals last night, he didn't celebrate, which he didn't do in a 21 game previously, because it's the same level sort of game. It's a first team game. It's a first team fixture. It was sharp on the stats, but by how he celebrated, you could tell that it wasn't a big game. So, scoring against a Premiership team would be surely someone running around the pitch doing celebrating cartwheels. But this was an academy team that was a shadow of a Premiership team. But I do think you take certain things in. So Clarkey will take in his clean sheet, Will Nightingale were taking a 90 minutes, not getting injured. And really, to be fair, their forward up front at Swansea, I was chatting, not to name drop, but I was chatting to Will Nightingale's dad, and Ryan Sweeney had been telling Will how good this kid was. He roasted them apparently for Stoke in some game that he played. Yet Will kept him really, really quiet. We had George Frankham, who got in at right back, gave us a bit of a different option. I really liked him at right back. That's where we got him from originally. Dean Parrott got some good game time. So I think the good habits won't harm them. Yes, there wasn't the intensity, but I think any sort of confidence we can get from a win, it's a win at the end of the day. We need to hopefully take that in to Saturday. And let's be fair, we've now got Parrott, Poleon and Will Nightingale knocking on the door heavily now going, are you going to start me?
It will be very interesting to see how Neil approaches the team on Saturday. I think Parrott surely should be, as we've already discussed, looking to start, and Poleon is scoring goals, because otherwise our top scorer this season is Andy Barcham.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's quite interesting. Just to quickly, what I would say on, even though, yes, there was a boycott, and it's quite an interesting point I want to make, even though there was a boycott, and rightly so, I believe, in terms of people that don't want to support B teams. But what I would say is the club, by the team that the club put out yesterday, suggests to me that the £10,000 per win bonus is being taken seriously, and it's a chat I had with one of my friends at the ground last night, saying, and I'd heard that the board have basically said we're going to treat this seriously because it's money at the end of the day. It's we could potentially, if we won 3 games, that's 30 grand into the next round, and then the prize money becomes it. So, do we cut our nose off to spite our face? Because if you look at all the press release, we did say that the net profit from the gate would go to charity. We never talked anything about prize money.
No, it's interesting with the prize money, with it being increased this season, with the attendances being so low after the first round of games, and let's just see how the other games go, because none of the Premier League or Championship Academy teams have had a home fixture yet, so that might change things. It might change things when more teams like ourselves play other Football League clubs, and more people might therefore be tempted to go and not boycott, if you follow the logic of it's just a typical Johnson Plate Trophy type game in that instance. But the £10,000 for a win in a group stage, it's a lot of money. Do you think that financing is sustainable in this competition past this season? They can't go back on it now, but I'm sure they'll look to review it next season.
They probably will do. We had this chat the other day, didn't we? Just totally off this, but my gut feeling is that money was going to come into the Football League anyway, because the Football League, the English Football League as they like to call themselves, should have been renegotiating the deal of the TV money, the split of the TV money that drips down into the Football League. So the extra £1 million, let's be fair, the deal that was struck by the clubs doesn't equate percentage-wise to an extra £1 million. It probably equates to an extra £5, £6, £7, £8 million going down into the Football League. But we ain't going to see that. We know that. But my gut feeling is that money would have dripped down anyway as part of the TV deal. So actually it's been camouflaged a little bit, saying let's all get on board with the new Checker Trade. And what a sponsor that is, by the way, if you want to follow them on Twitter. Let's get involved with the Checker Trade Trophy because of the money. But I think that money was going to be there anyway. That's my gut feeling. I might be wrong, but we were due some extra money to be fed down. What I would say, playing devil's advocate, is I think the board, rightly so, probably said, let's treat this game seriously. Our fans, rightly so, have an opinion. We've said the board have said what they've said. They didn't vote to go ahead with it. But should we be letting clubs like, for argument's sake, Rochdale take it seriously and then 30 extra grand and then getting through to the next round and getting, it could end up getting extra 50, 60, 70 grand. And that's a lot for us.
I think Luton and Portsmouth went down the route of thinking that half of that £10,000 win bonus that they could well achieve was going to be spent paying off fines for making more changes than were permitted under the ever-changing rules of this competition. We won't delve too
yes.
deeply into that one, but it was interesting. They both made 11 changes. Luton did win their fixture. I believe Portsmouth lost theirs at Yeovil. Very quickly, I just want to touch on some of the attendances as well. Average attendance on Tuesday night then over the 29 ties was 1,435, which does suggest a boycott or a lack of interest likely to harm this competition, the idea of this competition. We were the second lowest attendance of the evening, 461. Fleetwood beat us with 392. The highest was 3,600. That was Sheffield United, so their percentage decrease from their average is probably amongst the highest, even though they had the highest attendance on the night, if that makes sense. Interesting that Milton Keynes managed to get a season high attendance of 2,114 for the competition. Congratulations, Milton Keynes.
I know, it makes you laugh, doesn't it? I tell you, obviously, it's very difficult with this competition because we all know the feeling of the competition, but it's here, and we commentate on football and what affects Wimbledon. But I thought at the time when we played Peterborough that they weren't anything special and we should have beaten them. If you look at their form since we played them, you seem to think that was a real nightmare, the result for us, wasn't it? Because they got absolutely smacked at home by Norwich. And by all accounts, all is not good at Peterborough at the moment.
Which is strange because they beat Millwall 5-1, didn't they?
They did.
So, it's a strange one. It's interesting you mentioned there, Norwich, because that was going to be my next point. Hat-trick in that game for one of their players, a 28-year-old striker. We didn't want to really mention Swansea's team, but just in this effort to help develop English talent at the elite level, how did Swansea's English under-23s look to you?
Lovely. Well, one, they're Welsh, so should they be in the English Premiership? The clue is the English Premiership. I think they had one player. I think, I've got so many stats here from the under-23, sorry. Yeah, one English player they had, and then 10 non-English. I think they classed them as Welsh, which is right, because they're not English. Yeah, had one. It's a joke, isn't it? What I would say, and I know a little bit about academy football, purely because of the fact of I watch the under-21s, and we play quite a lot of development league, and you sort of know the clubs that are decent. Bristol Rovers lost 3-2 at home to the Reading under-23s, and they are academy-wise, are one of the top ones with Chelsea. So if we're going to say at the tournament, what academies are going to be decent this year to look out for, probably Reading are going to be the one. They beat Bristol Rovers 3-2 last night. But yeah, I don't want to go. They shouldn't be in this competition. They shouldn't be in it. But I think our win's not bad. But am I going to go mad about it? No, they shouldn't be here.
As always, Stu, we tend to talk too much. We are running very, very late, very much over schedule. So let's run through what is meant to be our main feature of this week's show. We looked at our worst ever Football League 11s for AFC Wimbledon, of course. This was a discussion that cropped up recently. I think it must have been on the coach to Peterborough when we started talking about this. We talked about picking a worst Wimbledon 11 since our return to the Football League in 2011. Now, some might consider this harsh, but it's only a bit of fun, really. And it's not like these conversations have not been had by Wimbledon supporters throughout the duration of football, back to the old CCL days. So if anyone's upset about this, just stop listening. Simple as, okay? Stu, you've picked 11, I've picked 11. We have different formations, though, do we not?
Yeah, we did. Well, I thought it was a 4-4-2 because sure, that's the football formation of everyone, isn't it? 4-4-2.
My logic was that if we're picking a worst ever Football League 11, I would do it in the worst formation we have played in our time in the Football League, and that was 3-4-3. Now, immediately I recall the Meet the Manager session prior to last season. So last season, which ended with our promotion at Wembley. The Meet the Manager in August, or it might have been the end of July, whenever it was. Do you remember Neil Lardley talking to us at length about 3-4-3 with a flip chart and thousands of stats regarding how this is the best formation for us and how it offers us the best amount of chances and limits the chances we concede and all these fantastic statistics. Sadly, the only statistic that mattered that was of the 6 games I think we played at the end of that season, the season previous, we hadn't won any of them. We'd lost 4-0 at Dagenham and Redbridge playing it, and we'd started the season then playing it 3-4-3, and it got very, very quickly ditched. So as much as I love Neil Lardley, 3-4-3 was, in hindsight, not the best.
He did, but just to counter that a little bit, he did go 4-3-3 a hell of a lot last year. So I think he had the 3 right. I think he wanted 3 up front. That was his idea, wasn't it? And to be fair to Neil Lardley, he admitted his error straight away, but the 4-3-3 formation saved us a lot of times, and I would argue that it probably got us through to Wembley in the playoff final when we changed to 4-3-3 at Accrington when we were 2-0 down.
Yeah, but that was 4-3-3, not 3-4-3.
You're right, but what I mean by it is I think he wanted to play 3 forwards. That was what he wanted to get into the game. That's why he overloaded us with forwards in the squads. He just then realised that we couldn't defend with 3 and went with 4 at the back.
So what we do agree on, in our formations at least, is that we will have 4 midfielders and, of course, just the 1 goalkeeper.
Of course, because you can only play 1.
So should we get Ben Wilson out of the way first?
See, I thought that was really obvious.
Well, it is. I can't believe it can be anyone else, can it?
Well, I looked a bit further afield because I thought, actually, I went for a couple. I went for...
You can't go for more than 1 goalkeeper, that's cheating.
I know, but I was unsure, really. I suppose it's a bit harsh, but I went for Mikel James Ruiz.
No, see, you can't. How many games did he play for us?
Yeah, but we didn't put a qualification period on it, did we?
Well, we didn't. So I'm guessing the other name... Can I try and guess what the other name is?
Go on.
Jack Turner?
No.
Oh.
I went for Matt. See, I don't know whether we were allowed to do this, but I went for the 1 appearance, which doesn't go on record because it's pre-season, but he was in goal for our 7-0 defeat to Reading.
Who was
which
that?
was McNamara, who went down into non-league.
Okay. I don't know. Okay.
So I don't know if you want to count pre-season, but he probably was officially the worst goalkeeper after 1 game. Because remember, the reason they're poor is because they didn't get many games because we realised they were poor after we bought them and probably hadn't scouted them properly, which will give you a clue to what other that I've got.
So
I'll go for Ben Wilson.
thank you. Okay. We might put a poll on Twitter to get you guys to join in with this a bit later, maybe in about a week's time or something, to see what you think. But I'm sure Ben Wilson has to go in there purely because of the amount of errors he made in what was a short number of games.
Wow, goals he scored in a short space of games.
And that goal he scored. Oh, yes, he did, to be fair. Yes, sorry, I see what you're saying there. Yes.
If you could ever give a goalkeeper goals or assists, he would have got loads in the appearances for us. Yeah,
God love him.
Yes.
Tweet about it, Ben. Tell us how you feel. We both have 4-man midfields then, and this was a little bit trickier, and I think I've got some harsh names in here, but...
Yeah, okay.
Who do you want to go... Have you got a centre midfield pairing?
Yeah, my pairing is, and it's probably a bit different to yours, but I went with Louis Harris.
No, it's definitely, no, he's in mine. Trust me, he's in mine.
And I also went for one that really disappointed. I've gone for some that disappointed me that I thought were going to be better than what they were, and that was Jake Nicholson.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I've gone for a little bit out there, but I really expected him to come with the background he had to be a bit better, but he wasn't. He's gone down into non-league now.
He was a bit lightweight, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
Okay. Well, I've gone for Louis Harris for the same reason. He was lightweight and he didn't do anything and he was rubbish.
Yes.
Yes, Louis Harris, disaster of a signing. I went for Max Porter alongside him.
Yeah, he was probably my one that I was arguing with Jake Nicholson because, again, he was England C captain, wasn't he, when we got him?
Yeah, he was.
And God knows I don't know how he got that. It must have been a bad year for the England C team when he got there.
I do remember him scoring for us, I believe, away at Aldershot very early on. But other than that, I'm not sure what he offered us.
Wasn't the game that I missed, was it, when I was standing outside? Probably was.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah, how can you forget that game? Well, I didn't see that, so he definitely goes into my midfield.
Just for that reason alone. Okay, my wingers might be a little bit harsh. Stu, who are yours?
I've gone for George Potter.
Oh, okay. Yeah, forgot about George Porter.
Because I thought he was a real, attitude issues. And I've gone for, because he disappointed me, was Chris Arthur.
Yeah, funny enough, yes, that's who I have. One of my names is Chris Arthur.
Who's the other one?
It's going to sound so harsh, but it has to be Toby Ajala.
No way.
In reality,
he'd done the best tackle ever in history.
Well, phrase it another way, yes, it was a great moment, but he also really got booked. And I think in his, however long he was with us for, which was quite a long period, 2 assists and no goal that I can recall.
No, and we did make a joke, didn't we, that Toby Ajala's second touch was always a tackle because his first touch was so bad. Yeah,
I think he was one of the main reasons we got most annoyed about the lack of ball boys at Kingsmeadow, because as his cross would sail over to the opposite corner flag, we'd take 5 minutes to get the ball back.
He would. Do you know who I was going to put in? I didn't, because I thought he deservedly so doesn't need to be in a bad team because he was so good in his first time with us. But I was going to put Kai Mohammed on his second appearance.
Yeah, I saw him as well and thought the second time round it didn't work, did it?
So disappointed. But I think because of what he did in that promotion season, he should be exempt from anywhere near our poorest 11.
And that's one of the reasons why in the end, the honest reason why I didn't go for a back 4 was because I was struggling for a right back And the only name which we discussed previously was Curtis Asano, but I couldn't put him in because he did kind of win us a penalty on the last day of the season against Fleetwood, which helped us stay up in the Football League. He is also an ex-Luton player.
I was going to say, it's the ex-Luton thing. I know exactly why you didn't want to put him in there. It's ex-Luton all day long, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
He was great for Luton.
Surely he must have started at the Watford Academy, so surely you must not like him for that.
It really didn't start at the Watford Academy. Watford don't have an academy. Their academy based in Udinese or wherever it is their owners live.
They just did Luton's Academy, do they? Anyway, we'll stop that. Yes. I love Curtis Asano. Now, the left-back, we surely have the same left-back.
Yeah, there's no doubt about this. Callum Kent. No, I'm joking.
Warren Cummings.
Warren Cummings.
Poor Terry Brown. He probably realises that he got carried away on an interview, but the stuff he said about Warren Cummings, everyone thought, oh, great, we've got this really experienced defender from Bournemouth, or we'll sail through. No way. No way.
Do you know why his surname's Cummings?
Go on.
Because he always lets wingers come inside him.
The problem was... He did. And let's just make sure we say this. We mean no harm towards any of the players, and we're not going to slag them off or anything because they put on the women's shirt. But yeah, he seemed quite a nice guy as well. It was really horrible trying to be, you're just like, you're thinking, please Terry, just admit it, you've made a mistake and don't play him. Do you know what I mean?
Just put him out of his misery.
He did. So who have you got for centre halves then, out of curiosity?
Centre halves?
Yeah.
I think we'll probably agree on these as well, actually. They are Callum McNaughton.
Yes, that's my one.
Yeah.
It's an obvious one.
Just got an image burned into my head when I think of Callum McNaughton of somebody falling on his backside away at Morecambe as Kevin Ellison on his Zimmer frame outpaces him.
But didn't he come on? He was on loan, wasn't he, from West Ham? Is that right? He was a youth loan, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And do you know what? He was very close to being being replaced by somebody who again had a second appearance with us, which was Pim Backerstein.
Again, for not being as good as the first time round. Yeah,
just because of not because to my players, not because they're poor, but because my expectation of them was better than what they produced. Do you know what I mean? So, but Callum ended up going down into non-league. I think he was playing for K's and stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah, last time I heard. So I don't know where he is now.
Cool. Who's your other centre after him?
Matt Mitchell-King.
See, I didn't go for him.
Who'd you go for?
I went for Dave Winfield.
I see. This was the toss-up, as it were.
Did you say? Yeah.
Yeah, that I had as well. But I've gone for Matt Mitchell-King again. I think maybe leaning towards your reasoning of expectation.
Yeah, and didn't Matt Mitchell-King and actually Callum McNaughton partner each other? Were they the same year? Am I right in thinking that?
They would have been, and just let that sink in for a little while. At some point, we'd have played with Matt Mitchell-King and Callum McNaughton as centre halves in the Football League.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so forward-wise then, so you went for 3 forwards.
Yeah, and again, I think there must be a name that we surely share.
Go on.
At least on one of these. Don't forget, I've got 3, you've only got 2.
Yes.
One of your 2 must be Jesse Darko.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, without a doubt. The only Cardiff loan that we probably got wrong, wasn't it, I think, in a way?
Yeah, definitely. Just didn't work for him whatsoever. Didn't seem to have a football brain.
No, he didn't. He was. You could tell by early on the model the type of player that Neil Ardley wanted, pace, real raw pace. He had that. Just didn't take the ball with him a lot.
Yeah, it would be great in the 100 metres.
Yeah.
Not so much in the full pitch. Who did you partner him with?
I went for Charlie Sheringham.
Interesting, because so did I.
Yeah, just because again. We've seen him play against us many years ago in the London Senior Cup for Palace when he was on there. I just thought it was I expected a lot more of him. I just didn't think he actually. I heard a lot of stories that Teddy Sheringham used to come and watch him play, and used to keep saying how poor the players were around Charlie Sheringham, which just made me laugh because I think he was missing the obvious one. He wasn't playing very well. Yeah,
and the fact that he then proceeded to go further and further down the pyramid, where the players surrounding him were going to be less and less talented.
Yeah, but he did score some important goals for us, didn't he? Didn't he score winner? Was it a winner or an equaliser at Newport away? Was it Newport away when we won 2-1? Was it Kevin St. Lucie who scored the other goal? Yeah. Two much maligned players at the time on that particular evening actually came good for us, but that might have been the only time for Sheringham, at least, certainly. I'm just going to chuck it out there. Charlie Adamino. Oh. Yeah. He was disappointing, wasn't he?
Scored in his debut. Didn't do anything else.
Bristol Rovers?
Bristol Rovers.
It was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, he come with a decent record, but the problem was, and Terry Brown was never going to say anything bad about Terry Brown. However, that team he got, some of the signings he'd done, just where Terry Brown's background was always non-league, and I think when he came into the league, because never been a league manager, it seemed to be all the contacts he had still were in non-league, and he still tried to pick out the best of non-league, wasn't it? But we just got it so wrong, unfortunately.
Wasn't Warren Cummings the first signing we'd made that wasn't a former non-league player or a young loanee from a Premier or a Championship club?
Yeah.
When we got promoted that first season, when we got quite a few players in around Christmas, January time, we're talking Billy Knott, George Moncur, again, they were loans from Premier League. Byron Harrison was a non-league player that Terry had experience of.
Yeah.
Warren Cummings came in and he was just like, wow, this is a Football League player we've signed. I think Terry got a little bit excited.
I think he was. But I don't think Bournemouth were probably League One at that point. They wouldn't have been.
They wouldn't have been great, no. But
no, they'd been League.
They were a club
League One, weren't they?
Yeah, but a Football League, an established Football League player that.
Yeah, and Louis Harris is the old rumor. I don't know how true it is, but he was recommended to Stuart Cash because of his Nottingham Forest connections, and we'd never seen him play. He was a pretty boy. He'd go into the X11 here, There you go. We could do that, couldn't we? Like the Pretty Boys X11, the Nutters X11, captained by Jamie Stewart. There'd be loads we could do.
Well, yes. We'll put it out on Twitter. We'll put it out on Twitter in the week, alongside, obviously, your own worst Football League 11s.
Yes,
join
please.
in with your, what was it, Stu? Best looking, worst looking, best songs, all these different 11s you could put together. Maybe think of your own if you'd like to. Tweet us at 9YRS Podcast or do it on our Facebook page. We'll put a thread up on there as well. But very quickly, Stu, do you want to run through your 1 to 11 worst Football League team?
Yeah, so in goal, Ben Wilson. Right back, Curtis Asano, and left back, Warren Cummings. In the centre would be Dave Winfield and Callum McNaughton. In the centre of midfield would be Louis Harris and Jake Nicholson, with the wide players out wide right would be George Porter and Chris Arthur. And then up front, the magical duo of Jesse Darko and the sublime, magical Charlie Sheringham.
And for my 3-4-3-11, again, Ben Wilson in goal. 3 centre-halves, as it were, Callum McNaughton, Matt Mitchell-King and Warren Cummings. 4 in midfield, from right to left, Toby Ajala, Max Porter, Louis Harris and Chris Arthur. And then your 3 up top, the, as Stu referred to him as, magical Charlie Sheringham, Jesse Darko and Charlie Adamino.
Are you ready to go shopping? Step inside a very special supermarket. The only supermarket in the world that gives you money. £2,000 is waiting on our shelves to be won by some lucky person in this store. The aim of the game is to shop smarter and faster than the next person. And everything in this supermarket is up for grabs. Go on, fill your trolley as high as you can, because shopping has never been so much fun. Yes, there's prizes in store and much, much more when you play Supermarket Sweep.
That was the music, of course, for Dale Winton's Supermarket Sweep. So thank you very much, Ray Armfield, for your Dale Win Gone 3-word match report, because that gave me the inspiration for this week's Poleon Go theme tune. Daytime TV, Stu, I don't know. Well, actually, you did see quite a lot of it, didn't you? Because, of your, in inverted commas, sick days that you used to have. So how much of Supermarket Sweep did you actually get to watch back in the day?
I didn't really watch it that much, to be honest with you.
I thought Dale Winton was kind of your type of guy.
He's a bit too camp.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like that game. I didn't see the point of it. And to be fair, I play it most weeks anyway in the supermarket, trying to work out where things are and they've been moved to.
They do tend to do that quite a lot, supermarkets. It's very irritating.
Yes.
In fact, shops in general tend to do this quite regularly. Switch things round for no apparent reason, just to confuse me when I go and complete my big shop. Dominic Poleon is on his travels again this week to another Football League stadium. Stu, he's headed back up north this week. He's gone on the train. He's decided to go to the station nearest the ground, a station which is named Kirkdale. which is not a character in Coronation Street as far as I'm aware. It's all one word, Kirkdale.
Up north, which could be anywhere from where it was last time. Kirkdale.
Any bells?
No, it does ring a bell, but I can't think of a guess where it is.
Okay, well, he has left that station and he's walking to the stadium, and his only observation really is the streets around the ground immediately surrounding it are very, very narrow. Very narrow. It's like hemmed in by houses.
Ooh, hemmed in by houses. What ground have we been to that looks like that? There's not many, actually. A lot of the grounds nowadays are not built in the centre anymore, are they? This must be an old ground. No, I still can't think.
Okay, you might get it with the final clue then. Dom has taken his seat to watch the game. He has a seat in what they call the balcony, which is very, very high up and quite steep. But from there, you can see the stadium of a very nearby neighbouring club. Neighbouring rival club.
Really?
Might be a big park there as well.
Kirkdale, big neighbouring. You've done it up north. The only grounds I can think that you can see a neighbouring ground is like Notts County, but that's not Kirkdale. No, he's done me.
Interesting, it's a ground you have visited, I'm sure on more than one occasion.
That's what I dread to think.
Famously, you once went there and were happy to survive with your life.
Oh, no. Come on. Kirkdale is not up at Everton.
It is indeed.
No way.
It is. And you know what? I thought
Really?
you were going to get that because you were so right when your logic there going with the old stadium because narrow streets, not many grounds are in. You know, they're new grounds outside town centres or whatever.
Depends what side of Everton you go into, because the main stand is the only one that has the real. Well, it's basically, if you go to Everton and you go to the main stand, you might as well have gone back to the 60s because it is so derelict and stuff. But is that Kirkdale, the nearest station?
Apparently so, according to Dominic Poleon himself, or my research.
To be fair, I used to go by coach, and the last time we went there was when your brother drove, and to be fair, we were very happy that our car was still in one piece. And actually, we got there in one piece because that was when Everton magically stayed up when we surrendered our 2-goal lead.
Plus, my brother was driving, so yeah, well done for surviving the.
I've never celebrated a goal from Everton as much in my entire life as I did that day. Damn, I can't believe I didn't get that. Okay.
There you go. It was indeed. What's the name of Everton Stadium, just to finish
It's
off?
Goodison Park. How can anyone not know Goodison Park, Stu?
It is indeed Goodison Park. So that is Poleon Go over for with this week, and there's only one way to finish now.
So the next time you're at the checkout and you hear the beep, think of the fun you could be having on Supermarket Sweep.
Right, very quickly, Chesterfield. Last 2 visits to Kingsmeadow, they drew 1-1 with us in a midweek fixture when they got promoted. And then the season before that, we somehow defeated them 1-0 on the opening day, somehow kept a clean sheet. We then went to concede on about 1 million goals for the rest of the season, but on that opening day we did beat them, thanks to a Jack Midson goal, in front of a still being built John Green North stand, whatever you want to call it. Chesterfield in League One, then, they are currently 10th. They have lost their last 2 games, however, and they have yet to win away from home. Their top scorer is Ched Evans, who I'm assuming, Stu, is going to get a warm reception from the Kenflo end on Saturday.
Yeah, he should do, but then I always think sometimes they're counterproductive. We've done it with other players, and they've just enjoyed that atmosphere. Yeah, he's a weird one, isn't he? He's very much one that... Again, I was going to do some research on it, but I didn't get a chance because I was too busy trying to think of my goalkeeper for our worst 11. But I think he was, and people may correct me on this one, but I think he had an appeal, didn't he, or so they quashed the decision. So I believe, and again, correct me if I'm wrong because I know it's a sensitive subject, but I believe he was innocent on what he did. If purely football-wise, Chesterfield have got an excellent striker. If you just say football, he's an excellent striker, and he's already got 4 goals this season already. So we're going to have our work cut out. As of, say, we're doing this in the transfer deadline day, their American winger they got, who's apparently their player of the season already, Gaboli Aribi, Say that when you're drunk. It's basically
Say that when you're sober.
Say when you're sober. Has put a transfer request in. Apparently, Brentford had a £800,000 bid declined or turned down for him. So there's loads of big clubs after him. So he may well have gone somewhere by the time we go out on the podcast on Thursday morning. But that's obviously going to leave a big gap for them. So hopefully we can capitalise. But yeah, a Danny Wilson team. Chesterfield, I thought would be down the bottom. I still think that may be a case. I'm expecting us to get a home win.
I'm going to agree with you. I'm going for a home win. Updates from the Chesterfield game will be available from us on all the usual channels, Twitter at 9YRS Podcast, Instagram as well. Before we sign off for this week, Stu, another reminder about the Don's Trust Web Jam project, which is to be rolled out from September the 5th, which, correct me if I'm wrong, is this coming Monday, back to school day. I must clarify, however, this is not to all members. It's going to be done in batches. Everyone should be done and should be on WebJam by the end of September. Okay, the WebJam is an exclusive online social media tool for Don's Trust members. I'm not reading this off a sheet at all. The site facilitates engagement online with the Trust board, where information can be shared and views expressed. Discussions and polls will take place, all in a secure, exclusive, members-only space. It will also give the board a closer understanding of what the members of the Don's Trust, the owners of AFC Wimbledon, want from the club. There is a meeting at Kingsmeadow on the 7th, so that would be Wednesday, regarding the project. So if you can get down for about 7:30 on Wednesday to get an update about WebJam and the reasons for it and the purposes of it, please do so. A lot of hard work has gone into that project, especially from John Lansdale, from Jane Lonsdale on the board. So please show your support for that if you can get down to Kingsmeadow on Wednesday night. Stu, thank you very much.
Thank you again.
Brings us to the end of this week's show. Again, I'll just point you in the direction of our website, 9yrspodcast.org, at 9YRS Podcast, Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Just leaves me to say, please join us next week when we'll be joined by Kevin Byrne. Now, if you don't know, he is the founder, and I believe the owner of Check a Trade, and we'll be talking to him about his company's approach to public relations. We'll see you then.